Hikaru Zero Fury Grunfeld is a way of playing the Grunfeld defense, a nice active system against d4, but where we don't have to learn any theory to really play it. Because when you play g6 followed by d5, there's obviously a lot of theory connected to it and a lot of memorization required to really get out the opening, as is often the case with mainline openings. And while it's true that this approach of playing the martial defense, as Hikaru did in this game against Penguin GM, aka Andrew Tang, is, objectively speaking, White does get a pretty big advantage if they play all of the best moves. But I did notice that Hikaru has actually been winning virtually all of his games from these positions. And I think part of the reason that is not just that, he's the best blitz player in the world, quite simply, at the very least online. But also because it's very systematic the way black plays, like bishop g7, castles, bishop g4, knight c6. All these moves are really very natural in this position, and actually the move of bishop g4, this is a move order that Hikaru has actually played in a lot of games as well on chess.com. The reason I'm not covering it here, though, is because white can avoid it with the move of h3 before knight f3, which will kind of force you into the system that I'll be showing you here with bishop to g7. And it's the thing, like when you compare to normal Grunfeld, yeah, obviously it's much better if knight takes c3, b takes c3 is thrown in, then e4 is undefended, c3 is undefended, and then the c5, queen a5, rook d8, knight takes bishop g4 does give you very nice pressure against the pawns. Obviously, though, with the knight on b6 to b5 is just not going to make as much sense when white can just take it and be a pawn up. So we need something a little bit different here. And by the way, if you are enjoying this video so far, then do make sure to leave a like. You can also, especially if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. This will ensure you get these videos in your feed. And for the month of October, I really am focusing on this replay training feature. It's just a really nice way to go through the games. We have to actually think about the positions for yourself. You kind of get to see the improvements from the engine, that get that feedback of whether our move is good or not. But rather than the engine just giving us all the answers and leading our brain to shut down, having to think about it for ourselves really does allow us to really understand things on a much deeper level. Like, for example, here you might think knight e5 is a very natural move to keep knight in the center. But after knight takes e5, after exchanges, we kind of lose some of the dynamic potential in the position. And this is why black plays the move of bishop takes f3 first and only then the move of knight to e5. As then we have ideas of maybe trying to bring the knight to c4 and attack the bishop and the pawn at the same time. We also have moves like c6, we can try to pressure the center. E6 probably isn't so effective when you don't have the bishop on c8, because then after d6, fe6, you just kind of have these isolated pawn e6. You're also opening things up for the bishop pair. So I'm kind of curious whether Hikaru played c6 or knight c4, because I think you could definitely make an argument at least from the human perspective, for both moves here. But I'm going to go with the move of c6, because I'm a little bit nervous after something like knight c4 that maybe the knight will just be a bit out of play after bishop c1, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but c6 yeah, just seems very natural, and the reason why I took was just to avoid a situation where they'd have an isolated pawn on d5 after takes takes. Because in that structure, you'd be able to go like rook c8, knight c4, and kind of play around the pawn in a sense. I think he just played knight takes c6, just keeping structure more solid. Yep, that is what he played. Okay, the engine kind of wanted to go queen d1 first, which kind of makes me wonder actually if you can even play queen d1 here, rook d8, and just try to use the weakness of the d4 square against them. But it does open the door for knight d5 maybe. Unless we can just go bishop b2, but okay, then rook b1 and yeah, then they are getting back the pawn and you're kind of opening up the position. But maybe it's okay on a technical sort of level. But yeah, it requires some precise calculation and kind of wondering if you even need to play queen d1 here. Like knight d4 immediately just seems very healthy as well. You could then later play a move like e5 if you really want to stabilize the knights, but also moves like rook c8, knight c4, queen d7, rook fd8 surely are fairly natural as well. So after all of that discussion, I'm kind of leaning towards probably knight d4 here. Um, okay, it said, yeah, that like bishop d4 was, yeah, maybe a bit more precise. But bishop d4 did occur to me. I kind of rejected because I thought bishop d6 was just a good h6, which is a good reply, but maybe just go bishop g7 or rook e8, and the bishop just doesn't really do a whole lot for them. well, maybe I can borrow the idea now. I don't think rook c8 a3 massively changes the position, so yeah, maybe we'll try it now and see how it goes. But yeah, knight d4. Okay, so I did play knight d4 after all, which I think is the more human move. And now there's a little bit of a choice because you could definitely go knight c4 and probably just trade off their bishop pair. But if you want to play for a win here, you could also just keep the bishop versus knight in balance and sort of, make the point that bishop is a little bit biting on granite here, which is kind of leaning me towards the idea of maybe just keeping the tension with a move like queen d7, just kind of letting them sort of stew in their own juices a little bit. I mean, queen d6 is a bit more active as well, but I kind of like the idea of making sure our light squares are kind of covered as well when we have more pieces on the dark squares than the opponent. So I think I'm going to try queen d7. Yeah, e6, yeah, maybe a little bit healthier. Okay, so the engine actually did think queen e6 is more active. That's reasonable, I guess. Like maybe you have queen b4 there in some lines, but you don't have queen d7. Yeah, that's a logical enough explanation. I don't really want the queen on the d file, I think, for when this rook comes. I think I remember Hikaru played queen h4 from memory. I could be misremembering. I could think of a different position because bishop g5 looks a bit annoying in response there. But I mean, surely queen e7 is very healthy though in a position like this. Okay, so he did play to move queen h4. So there you go. Can't find any reason why playing knight c6, just computer things. But yeah, now I'm a little bit stuck because rook d8 is going to run into bishop g5. This is something one of the reasons why I wanted to put the queen on e7 so it can be bishop g5 with bishop f6 there. But okay. I mean, this is also probably a bullet game as well, so maybe there's also a reason why the moves are not of the absolute premium quality, let's say. But I mean, h6 just feels a little bit too prophylactic because I don't think our queen is actually getting trapped after bishop g5, queen h5. Like bishop e2, we can take. And knight e2, we could probably go h6 and get away with that, maybe. I don't know, it's a bit close though. So, yeah, it's a tricky position for sure. But yeah, I don't really want to play h6, but I'm struggling to find a better move in all honesty. Like rook c6 just instinctively doesn't quite feel right to me here. Okay, I think I would play h6 if I had this in the game. So, oh, I could go knight c4 though. Like knight c4 has been in my mind for a while, but take, rook takes. It feels a little rickety, but I guess after queen d3 we'd have rook fc8, and if b3 we have this rook c3 trick, take, queen c3, knight e2, which okay, I realize not everyone's gonna follow that line all the way to the end, but it's a good training, of course, to at least try. I think I might have talked myself into maybe playing knight c4. Okay, it's saying that yeah, it's just a mistake in this position. So maybe we do just play h6. Yeah, the engineer just wants to admit the mistake and play queen e7. So yeah, there can be a little bit of a disadvantage to the replay training that sometimes yeah sort of your opponent the guy play a different move to what you would have, and then you sort of a bit lost in the situation. Now do we play knight c6 or do we trade? This is kind of an interesting question. We could also take and then play rook d8 maybe. That could be interesting. Yeah, I think I'll exchange the rooks actually, which is yeah actually a top move. There we go. Rook d8. Rook d8 just feels very healthy to me, but because if knight d4 takes bishop h6, you have the bishop f2 trick to get back your pawn. And if rook c7 at the end, you've got queen g7, their bishop's still under attack. So I think that's going to be okay, most likely. I mean, also, yeah, their other moves are also fine there, but yeah, I think I'm going to just keep the tension here. Okay, the engine really wants to play knight c6 all the time. I mean, maybe now it makes more sense in that, the queen is going to have the rook opposite the queen a little bit. So I think I'm going to play knight c6. I know I'm spending a lot of time on these moves, but just the position is just kind of interesting to me in a way. It's always a fun task. I like to try to play it in the same way as a very strong grandmaster. Like it only can be good for your chess to try to follow their thought process. Yeah, I mean knight a4. Knight a4 is definitely an idea, like going b4, knight b2. It's definitely very tricky because also if they go rook b1, you can maybe even just take rook b2, bishop 2, queen b2, rook d3, this sort of thing. Because you've got like queen b7, like queen e4 in the worst case. Yeah, I kind of like knight a4. I'm sort of cheating a little bit because I saw it was a suggestion from last move, but I do like this a lot actually. It says it's not good though for some reason. Not entirely sure why. It actually looks like it wins material on the surface, but maybe there's some tactical point I'm missing. I don't know. Um, yeah, it beats me. Oh, of course I have knight c4. Yeah, I'm so dumb. Just completely missed this. but actually Hikaru missed it as well. So yeah, a bit of a blind spot there. So queen c2, his idea is to take rook d3, queen e4, rook takes d8, but we do have other moves at our disposal, like maybe rook c8 seems kind of healthy, but it says it's not good for some reason after knight c3. Oh, it shows the arrow for like why to move. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. I didn't realize that it had the arrow showing this feature. I mean, maybe just queen e7. I'm doing so horribly actually with this. Like my accuracy is like so much worse than usual, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, to be fair, I'm not really trying to improve my chess these days, so I don't really care that much, but it is something like to keep in mind. Like, don't beat yourself up too much over mistakes, like main things to learn from them. So yeah, here I think the principle is that the knights tend to coordinate better with the queen, and the bishops tend to coordinate with the rook, which would in isolation suggest that taking on d1 is a good idea. I'm kind of considering now what the follow-up is, because you do have also rook c8 and knight c4 ideas that can also be quite appealing here. I'm kind of torn between the two options, but I think I'm going to play rook c8 just because it feels a bit more dynamic. But yeah, the engine just doesn't like it whatsoever. Probably just wants to take. I'm guessing like knight c4 or queen c7. I feel like it's one of these two moves probably, but let's go knight c4. Yeah, takes queen c2. I mean, it looks like a very balanced position, but I think it's a position where like white's bishop is just a lot less active than black's. So definitely have a lot of scope to, I think, outplay the opponent. I'm sort of torn between queen d6 and g5. I can kind of see an argument for both moves, but I think queen d6 is maybe a little bit less committal, maybe. But I probably are going to go f4 there. But maybe we have bishop d4 and e5. We can try to sort of stabilize that way. Yeah, I think that's reasonable enough. Yeah, it's a move. Okay, the Indra wants queen d8. I don't think it's going to be a big difference. But yeah, knight c3 kind of leaves behind the d4 square. I think you're just asking for the bishop to come in. Okay, it seems knight d7, yeah, was the move played. Okay, since the Indra won't play h5 last move, there's probably a good chance that it's going to be the best one this move, but okay. Yeah, it's one thing, like, sometimes the Indra analysis is also not at the highest depth, let's say, with this. So, it's not a perfect training method, but it's still pretty good. And G3 is a little trickier than it might seem, because take queen c3, knight e4, there is the move of queen 2, c8. But after king g7 takes, we just go queen d4 and win f2, right? So I think that this actually might have been a bit of a tactical miss by Tang here, and maybe move like knight e2 instead might have been preferable. But I think this is just quite good, yeah? Takes. Okay, but okay, the Indian has this completely different idea altogether. Um, okay, bishop d4, just playing the ops-colored bishops. Queen e5, he just goes f4. Maybe g5 here is still an idea. Well, let's go with it, I think. So he did play queen e5. f3 was played. Again, I think f4 is a lot more natural there. I'm not quite sure why he didn't just grab the space in all honesty, but okay, maybe just g5 now. I mean, h5 is also a thing potentially, but g5 just feels so right in this position. But then 92, bishop b2, f4. But queen 4 falls with check. So yeah, that's going to be okay. And actually, we improved on Hikaru's play. That's always a nice feeling. Given what a great player he is. Let's go. Kind of feel like my queen's a bit weirdly placed on e5. I mean, sort of my pieces look quite well placed, but I feel like if you had like queen c5, knight e5, it would be a lot nicer because then you can just get around to attacking their weaknesses. You can try to fix their weakness a bit more easily on c3 and stuff. b5 is just going to run into c4, so I don't think that's really a thing here. I mean, queen d6 does take the open file. I don't know if that really means too much if they play like queen b2 or something, but maybe it's an idea. Because yeah, I think if g5 queen d2, this sort of idea is what lent me towards thinking of maybe queen d6, but I don't know. I feel like we kind of need to organize the pieces somehow, and I feel like queen d6 does at least open the door to attack a3 in some points. Like queen b2, I guess queen b1 they don't have queen b6, but queen d2, queen c3, and you do keep everything defended. So, okay, I think that queen d6 can have some merit here. Okay, the engine was queen c7, maybe to try to go around this way. Maybe that's its idea. But okay, when I go h4, I mean, h5 is like a very natural blitz move, just trying to fix the structure when you've got the bishop versus the knight. And knight d7 is appealing, but it does maybe open the door for like queen b2 and this pawn on b7 to come under attack. So I think I'll play h5 here, which actually is a top move. So there we go. Yeah, like with b5, I would be a bit concerned about c4 and the pawns getting traded a bit too quickly. I think that keeping position a bit more closed, a bit more stable is just going to, like generally speaking, be more appropriate, I think. Of course, it's true our pawn is under attack. We should be careful of this. But h5 does defend it. Now, queen e3 is really kind of pinging my tactical radar. I think it might be a mistake because I think knight d4, knight a4 does hit the pawn on a3, but it also hits the pawn on c3. So if queen a7, for example, you can just play knight takes c3 there. But I don't really know how he gets out of it. He goes c4, this is idea, but then just b4, right? But then c5, he's very tricky, like knight a4, c4, b4, c5, and basically yeah, getting towards equality. But it's a very concrete sort of idea, let's say. So maybe we can try to do something about it. Like I don't know. But c4 is kind of a positional threat, I think, that we should try to figure out a good way to deal with. Especially with this, like this c5 trick is really the thing here that helps white to defend. But let's see. Yeah, I think this is quite a critical position actually, even though it might not look like it at first glance. Um, just thinking if there are any alternatives I might have missed in this position. Um, I mean, yeah, it's kind of not so easy. I mean, if I go queen e5, meet c4, queen b2, I don't know if that actually does anything though if white just plays king h3. So it's hard to say. Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe that black might have misplayed this a little bit, but white might just be okay at this point. So I'm thinking maybe. I mean, 97, I'll ask queen a7, that's the thing, but what do you even do? 97 does also have ideas of 95 and trying to use the weaknesses around the king side. So I feel like that's maybe the best shot. But okay, he played a move knight a4 in the game. Yeah, it turns out queen 5 was also a move, as the engine pointed out. I mean, b4, c5 is so annoying, but like, what else do you really have in a sense? Mm, yeah, this is a tough one. Just thinking, yeah, if there's anything I might have missed in this position here. Maybe because I'm struggling to find a better move than b takes c4 and just admitting they're just equal. Um, I mean, yeah, I also don't really want to activate their bishop, but like, what else do you even do in this position? I'm kind of struggling a bit. Because queen e5, like if take that queen b3 and just the attack on your pawn is really annoying. Unless you have knight c3, that actually might give some potential. I mean, I don't really see a great option for black. I think white's probably just okay, and yeah, engine's kind of confirming it. But yeah, after queen e5, I think this is reasonable enough. Okay, so we did play bc4, but I think this does keep more attention in the position, maybe. I'd really like to get the knight to c3 if possible, but I'm not quite sure how exactly you get there. I mean, queen c6, queen d3, you do have knight b2, but queen d8 is just fine. So, yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. I mean, a5 is natural enough, I guess, but yeah, white just seems okay. King f2. I mean, a5, yeah, just getting the pawn away from the eye of the bishop in a sense. Now, king f2, you might actually have some ideas like queen e5 and queen b2. I don't know if it actually does anything, but it's an interesting force at the very least. Yeah, I mean, but if queen 5 is also maybe, I don't know, f4 could be a bit overextending after queen b2, because obviously queen e4, knight c5, and knight e4, king f3. So anyway, yeah, I'm leaning towards. I'm very torn between these two options. I kind of like both of them, but I think a5 can be played whenever. So I think I'm going to maybe lean towards this one. But okay, a5 was actually played in the game. Queen b6, c6. You can kind of argue for both of them. Also, queen c7, threatening knight d7 is a thing. Um, yeah, maybe I will lean in this direction. I mean, so yeah, you can kind of see like pretty much every move is going to be okay. Like this is sort of a nice thing about doing the replay training with this rather than covering the moves is that you can kind of get this direct feedback of okay, like this move is fine after all. Yeah, queen c a little bit of a tricky move. Knight b3 is interesting as well, just trying to win this pawn directly. Like that could definitely be a thing here. Yeah, I mean knight b3 actually asks some tricky questions. I mean, I guess they play a4 though, and what do you do then? So maybe we need to be a little bit more patient. Maybe just queen c2. That's a mistake though in this case. Okay. So do we just go knight b3, knight d4? Oh, I didn't see this. I thought that, yeah, after a4, the knight would be stuck, but you have knight d4. This is what I had overlooked. So I think, doesn't we just have knight c1 though? Like knight c1, queen d8, king h7, and like we're just taking their bishop, no? So I think that this just wins a pawn, yeah? Yeah, it's the best move. Okay, he played this instead. King h7 feels very natural. Because king g7 obviously runs into queen h6. But what about queen f8 actually? Can we just play queen f8 in this position? And just stop all the checks? Apparently not for whatever reason. Okay. So king h7. And now queen c5 seems very healthy. Just improving queen with tempo. Kind of curious even if queen d5 is just a winning endgame just with the passed pawn. Whether white can even really stop it there. Uh, yeah, is queen d5 just winning in this position? Like take, take. Bishop b5, we go knight to c5, and the opponent has a free run. But bishop d1 is a bit more tenacious. And then for a4, like king f3, knight c5, e3. Sorry, king f3, a4, bishop c2, a3, bishop b1, knight a4, knight king 3, knight 3, and a2. Yeah, it just wins, no? If we just play this. Not good? Okay, I'm kind of surprised. Thought that was just winning, but okay. I guess go king g7 and keep control. Bishop b5. Okay, since we're not training the queens here, I'm guessing knight d4 is just very natural. Yeah, okay, so he did play queen d5. Um, yeah, this game's like such a weird one. Okay, he just blunted the bishop and now it's over. Yeah, this one was like a very back and forth, and I have to admit, yeah, I did really badly on this replay training. Like I just felt like every move was like just a different one to what I was thinking, and maybe that's also because it was a bullet game as well, so maybe that's also why it was a bit of a different thought process. But I think one lesson you can take from this game, yeah, is not just about like the zero theory Grunfeld of Hikaru, but also just a psychological understanding that it's very hard to quickly adapt to a new situation when in chess especially. It's true in life as well, but in chess, like when the position suddenly changes, the opponent plays a move that you don't expect. I think it's very important to kind of take a breather and sort of to realize that, just because you're surprised, it doesn't mean that you kind of missed something like really horrible or that their move is like good just because you missed it, to yeah, try to give a more detached perspective and say, okay, it's a new situation. Let's kind of handle it the best I can. And of course, it's something you obviously want to train in your own work in your chess. Like you can see here, that even as a grandmaster, it's something that is a bit of a challenge for me sometimes. So it means there's room for anyone really to improve at it. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video a lot. Do let me know in the comments below, what was a move or even like some maybe idea I shared that kind of was interesting for you. I'd love for you to share that, because what will often happen is that if you all share kind of one point that you learned from the game, then there's going to be like a lot of really good points. It just makes a really good summary of this video so that you'll retain the lessons a lot more powerfully. With that being said, yeah, glad that you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.